Good evening and welcome to the April deferred Board of Zoning Appeals. I would like to call the meeting to order. We'll start off with prayer and Pledge of Allegiance, so please join us.
Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for an opportunity to come and just serve our community and serve the people of our community. God, we just ask that you be with our leaders, that you would continue to just guide them and help them to make decisions that are not just best for the city, but morally correct. God, we just love you and thank you for all you do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please face the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, fellas. Next item on the agenda is citizen comments, and I see we have none at this time. Excellent. Move on to number 4, the annual, I guess it's an annual election of officers. We pretty much have the chairman as the only officer we really have, right? Chair and vice chair. All right, so at this point we can take nominations.
Nominate Steve.
You got to spell that out a little bit better.
I got to spell his name out.
Which Steve?
Oh, Steve Sullivan.
Yeah.
All right. I'll second that nomination.
Chairman.
For chairman, all right. So myself as continue as chairman. If I would nominate Stephen Bryan as the vice chair.
But we'll have to
vote one at a time. Okay. All right. So let's. We have. Any other nominations for chairman? None. With that being said, I guess all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None. So that's done. Go on to vice chair, and I'll nominate Stephen Bryan to act as vice chair.
I'll second.
And we have a second. Any other nominations? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And none opposed. So we got those two taken care of, right? All right. The next item is the approval or correction of minutes from the March 15th meeting. If you've had time to look at those, any corrections or adjustments?
I haven't had enough time to look at it.
We've had a couple of months. I don't know if you've had time.
I'm just kidding.
If there are no adjustments, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the March 15th minutes as presented.
All right. Motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of the approval? Aye.
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 None opposed, so those are approved. Next item on the agenda is new business. We've got a couple of setback variances and a special exception request. So, Kevin, we'll start with the setback variances.
Yeah, the first request, 723 Rock Springs Road, in an R3 zone. Both of these are actually kind of have a similar situation in that the current property owner kind of inherited an issue, and now they're trying to correct that issue when they started to do some of the things that they wanted to do and came in for proper permits, but kind of discovered violations. So this applicant has requested a setback variance. They want to expand the house approximately 171 square feet. Property again is zoned R3, about 107 acre in size. Minimum yard requirements in the R3 are 35 front, 10 on the side, and 20 on the rear. There is a 10-foot drainage easement along the southeastern property line, and there's also a 10-foot public utility and drainage easement along the front property line. The property has an existing attached carport. It's about 21 by 18. It was either never permitted. Our records actually only go back to about 1995, so it could have been permitted prior to 95. However, in either case, it was placed too close to the property line. What the applicant is wanting to do is kind of close off that carport and construct the existing carport. They want to close it off, make it a part of the house. It's about a 9.5 by 18 expansion, so they're proposing, basically asking for a rear setback variance of 5 feet to allow a 15-foot rear setback. there are several standards that you all have to review and look at when you're reviewing a variance request. So under B, 7.080B, number one, the particular physical surrounding shape or topographic conditions of the specific property involved would result in particular hardship upon the owner as distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the strict application. Again, the previous addition was completed by the previous owner. It was placed too close to the property line. There is as I stated, there is an easement along the front and along the rear. It does have some, obviously has some effect on the placement of the house and of any additions to the house. Two, the conditions upon which the petition for a variance is based would not be applicable generally to other property. We did find that there have had other similar situations where they were constructed with the permit and a variance was granted. So that is somewhat applicable, I guess, in other properties within the same district. Variance for non-authorized activities in the zone district, and this is a single-family expansion of an existing single-family house, so that if there is no additional or activities that we authorize, it would not be permitted by the ordinance, so that's not applicable. Number four, financial returns only shall not be considered as a basis, and the property owner has identified financial returns as a reason. The alleged difficulty or hardship has not been created by any person having an interest in the property after the effective date. The current owner did not have anything to do with the building addition or looking at the location of the existing building addition, so that was not created by the applicant. Granting the variance requested would not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by the ordinance to other land, structures, or buildings. We would find that the variance would not provide a special privilege denied to other users in the district. Number seven, the variance is the minimum that will make possible the reasonable use. We would find that the proposed addition would actually bring the building further away from the property line than where it is today, which is it's actually be a less of a violation with this than there is currently, and so we would think that it would make possible the reasonable use of the land. The granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the area in which the property is located. We would find that it would not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property. Number nine, the proposed variance will not impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent properties, substantially increase congestion in the public streets, increase the danger of fire, endanger the public safety, or substantially diminish or impair property values. And we would find that the variance would not have any of the above effects. Number 10 is not applicable, as this property is not on any register of historic places. Staff recommendation. The lot has area to the eastern side where an addition could be added, but there is a drainage easement that limits that somewhat. Existing carport is in violation and exceeds the requested variance, and it appears that there was an addition to the house completed without a permit too close to the rear property line as well. So the proposal would lessen the violation than what it is today, and we would recommend approval. I do have a few pictures, and I apologize. That's Clearview Drive. I apologize. I got the pictures and the applicant mixed up there. I apologize. That's my fault. This is the home. The name is the next applicant. This is the home here on Rock Springs Road. This is the front of the house, and this is kind of the side of the house, and this is the best I could get to as far as close as I could get. This is the actual addition and all is going to be to the rear of the house, so I really don't have a good shot of what they're going to do, but we do have drawings on the right side of your packet. In addition to some written out kind of an explanation of what they're wanting to do, as well as a drawing. So they're basically wanting to fill in kind of that area.
So it looks like, based on the drawing that I'm seeing, I think this is the right one. This one.
Yeah,
That one.
that's it, yes.
So it looks like they're going to take down the carport, which now extends beyond the house further, and then fill in kind of that L-shaped portion of the house, right?
Correct, yeah,
And kind of square the house off more.
right.
Yeah, which makes sense. I was trying to figure out how does it lessen it, but I understand now.
Yeah, they're taking out
Yeah.
the violation, and may still be a violation, but less than what it is today.
So based on that though, that the house itself is right.
Because there was an addition to the house at some point too.
Oh, I got you. That back L is an addition. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. Okay,
We had no record of a permit, and our records go back to 95,
understand.
so.
All right. At this time, we'll close the Board of Zoning Appeals and we'll open up a public hearing for anyone that would like to speak for or against this request. If you would, please come to the microphone, state your name and your address, and go from there.
Good afternoon. My name is Farah Alibaidi. I'm the homeowner for the 723 Rock Springs Road, and I am who is putting this request. You said this part is an addition. This is an actual in the house. So, like, if I can show you
Yeah,
in
sure.
the picture. This one, this is the kitchen here, and this is the master bedroom and the bathroom. So it is not an addition; it is an actual in the house. So we just need to add this, so it's gonna be like
No, I understand. Okay. Yeah.
like
So I think what Kevin is telling us is that this piece that was added, that's here, was added at some point before you
No,
on the house.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
it is like a part of the.
Yeah.
this is what-
Yeah,
it is
now
the-
it's part of the house. I
yeah,
understand
it
that.
is it is
The
master
master's,
bathroom.
right, I got you. Okay. Yeah, and you can kind of tell by the gables, it looks like it was added too, but I understand. It's existing, it was there before you moved in.
Yes.
And it's integrated into part of the house as far as you're concerned at this point, right?
Yes.
Understand.
Yeah, we just need to like extend the kitchen because we have 3 kids and we need some times for the family to sit together.
Understand.
And it's like a small area.
Okay. Is there any questions or comments? Anybody?
I don't have any.
All right, no questions. Thank you for coming. We'll close the public hearing and reopen the Board of Zoning Appeals for discussion and motions. I don't really have a lot of discussion. It seems pretty straightforward to me, and obviously, I personally think we're actually improving the situation by getting the carport would ultimately be removed and this being added. So we're actually improving the situation. Does the variance now count for the entire?
It would
house?
count for that entire property.
Kind of
right.
gets them into compliance, so to
Right.
speak, right?
Correct.
So it's not mentioned in the staff recommendation. I think it was mentioned earlier. What's the variance?
It's a 5-foot variance, it'd be a 15-foot setback, and
So
20 feet is required, so it's a
So got
5-foot variance.
So I'll make a motion to, if we're ready for motions.
Sure.
I'll make a motion to approve the request with a set variance of 5 foot to allow for the 15-foot rear setback.
Okay, motion for a 5-foot variance. Have a second?
Second.
And a second. All of those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. The variance is approved. All right, thank you. The next item, Kevin, is another variance request. I think it's at Clearview Drive.
Yes, I'll go back to the, there we go. Again, wrong name, but right picture, wrong name and address. I got those mixed up, I apologize. I was putting it together this afternoon. Yeah, this request is at 416 Clearview Drive. This is there's a similar situation. There's an existing house here on this property. It is zoned R1. It's about 4,700 of an acre. Minimum requirements in R1 are 35 front, 15 feet on the side, and rear setback of 25. This lot actually has a plat recorded with a setback of 60 feet, so it's actually set back further than 35 feet by quite a bit. There is a 10-foot public utility easement on the rear property line. This property, again, similar situation, has an attached existing attached carport, which was, again, either built without a permit or built prior to 1995. It was placed too close to the side property line. The existing carport, the request is to close it off and constructed it as a patio or sunroom. And so basically the applicant is they are wanting to keep it where it's at as far as the side wall. And they have requested a side setback variance of 5.5 feet to allow for a 9.5 foot side setback. Again, same standards as what we just looked at for a variance to be considered. Again, number one, particular physical surrounding shape, topographic conditions of the specific property involved that would result in a particular hardship upon the owner as distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the strict application of the ordinance were carried out must be stated. Again, the issue situation here that the owner did, or the previous owner at some point did add this carport. We don't know exactly when that happened. And there is, so I'll get into that a little bit more in the future, in the further comments regarding some of the setback issues here. Number two, the conditions upon which the petition for a variance is based would not be applicable generally to other property within the same district. Again, kind of the same situation as the previous applicant. There are additions are placed in this zone all the time. Typically, they either meet setbacks or they come before you all and request a variance. Number three, the variance will not authorize activities in the zone district other than those permitted by the ordinance, and that is not the case here. This is an existing house that we just wanted to add on to. Number four, financial returns only shall not be considered as a basis, and they have not indicated financial returns as a reason for requesting the variance. Number five, the alleged difficulty or hardship has not been created by any person having an interest in the property after the effective date of this ordinance. Again, we don't know exactly when this was done. This was not created by the applicant that's before you today. Number six, granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by the ordinance to other land, structures, or buildings in the same district. We will find that will not provide the applicant any special privilege denied by the ordinance to other buildings in the R1 district. The variance is a minimum that will make possible reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. We would find that closure of the carport would bring the house into compliance if you do grant the variance due to that being constructed without a permit and placed too close to the property line. Number eight, the granting of the variance would not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the area. We would find the variance would not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements. Number nine, the proposed variance would not impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property, substantially increase the congestion in public streets, or increase the danger of fire, endanger public safety, or substantially diminish or impair property values and within the area, and we would find it not have any of the above effects. Number 10 is again not applicable. Under our staff recommendation, the existing carport is in violation. It appears it was completed without a permit. However, there's no way we can confirm it. The subdivision plat was recorded in 1959. The house was constructed near that time. It is possible this addition was constructed prior to 1972 when Smyrna adopted zoning. However, we have no way of confirming that. So this house does have a front setback of 60 feet, which is greater than the zoning requirement of 35, which does lessen the area to the rear of the house where any additions could be built. Granting approval of this request would bring the house into compliance for the side setback, and we would recommend approval. Again, the address and name is wrong, but this is the correct picture. This is from the front, from the road. As you can see, the house there, and then the carport to the left side. And then this is just a closer up view of that. And so that shows again, that's the area. They're just wanting to close that in and make it a patio room or sunroom. And then this is just another view from the kind of the other side.
5.5 foot variance, which
Correct.
would make it a 9.5 foot setback.
Correct.
We're pretty confident with that number. Should we just go to 6 or just go with 5.5?
They're they were pretty confident, I think,
Okay.
in that number, so.
Okay.
And we do have,
Pretty specific.
we have, again, letter and drawing kind of from them, kind of what they're looking at doing, so.
Were there any phone calls or anything from the neighbor adjacent to him there?
No,
I saw in the letter he talked to him, but I just wonder if you spoke to
we,
him.
we did not hear from them, no.
Okay. I mean, ultimately, it's all under the same exact roof. It's already there, so,
And you can tell, but it's been there a while, just because the roof that's on the house, you can just tell it was all roofed at the same time.
Understand.
You know, so it's been there a while, at least.
okay. At this time, we'll close the Board of Zoning Appeals and open a public hearing for anyone that would like to speak for or against this request. If you would, please step forward. Not seeing anyone, we will reopen the Board of Zoning Appeals for comments and discussion. Anything, anybody?
None here.
I don't really see a lot of, for me, I don't have much issues. I mean, it's all under the existing roof now. It's essentially building walls. That's about it. It doesn't actually expand the footprint of the overall house at this point, even though it closes it in.
The view doesn't change for the neighbors.
Yeah,
They can't
nothing
see it.
changes.
There's a hedge
Right.
the whole way down.
Okay, if that's the case, we'll entertain a motion. I think 5.5 is the number. Anybody that wants to do it.
I'll make a motion to approve this request with a 5.5 foot set, variance for a 9.5 foot side setback. And that's all.
All right, we have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
And we're here a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. And opposed? None. So the variance request is approved for 5.5 feet. Thank you very much. Then we'll go to the next item on the agenda, special exception request for Jeremy and Darcy Alexander.
Yeah, this is a request for a special exception at 5830 Rock Springs Road. It's in an R1 zone. The request is for an in-home business of dustless, like blasting. It's like a sandblasting type process, but dustless. Within that R1 district, property is about 5.08 acres in size. What they have indicated to us, dustless blasting is a process of removing a coating from any surface without creating any dust. The applicant stated that most of the work will be done on site where their clients are at, but work may be conducted at their place of residence. And so we felt this was an in-home business that merited further review by the BZA. There are some general requirements as well as some criteria for review as you look at this, and so we'll go through those under B, on your second page of their staff report. First one, it is so designed, located, and proposed to be operated so that the public health, safety, and welfare will be protected. We did find that the proposed business should not negatively affect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Second one, that will not adversely affect other property in the area, and we would find that should not adversely affect other property, since the property sizes in this whole area are all minimum of 5 acres. The next one is that it is within the provisions of special exceptions as set forth in the ordinance, which these are considered in-home businesses and in-home occupations are considered special exceptions within the municipal zoning ordinance, so it is within that. And that D, that it conforms to all applicable provisions of this ordinance for the district in which it's to be located, as well as the provisions cited in section 7.060 and 7.061, and is necessary for public convenience. We have found that the site would be able to, or may be able to conform to all provisions of the zoning ordinance, and as listed under criteria for review, which is the next section of items. These are items that you all need to review as a part of your granting of this variance or granting of this special exception, or not granting it. You should need to review these items. One, that ingress and egress to the property, and that the proposed structures, with particular reference to automotive and pedestrian safety and convenience, traffic flow and control and access in case of fire or catastrophe. The site, there's there's a driveway there. There's actually not a home built there yet. That would be proposed to be built. We'll utilize the existing driveway off of Rock Springs Road. 2 off-street parking and loading areas were required, with particular attention to the items in number 1 above that we just talked about, and the economic noise, vibrations, glare, or odor effects of the special exception on or by adjoining properties and properties generally in or near the district. We would find that the lot provides sufficient space for parking, and again, it's spread out enough that any kind of noise or all would be minimized. 2 refuse and service areas with particular reference to items 1 and 2. Refuse collection will be proceeded. There is no refuse collection there now, but it would be a part of the residential collection. Utilities with reference to locations, availability and compatibility. This location does have all the necessary utilities. There is not sewer here, but that's not necessary for this use. 5, screening and buffering with reference to type, dimensions, and character. That's not really applicable on this one. Signs, if any, and any proposed exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic, safety, economic effect, and compatibility and harmony with the properties. We feel like this probably is a fit for that area because of the size of the properties that are involved. And we would, I don't believe, nor that they're even proposing any signage, but they would have to comply with our residential area for signage limitations as far as size and that sort of thing. Required yard and other open space. Again, because of the size of the property, we feel like there is adequate space on the lot to support the business. 8, general compatibility with adjacent properties and other property. We feel like it would be compatible. Again, number 9 is not applicable. We would recommend approval. I did take a couple of pictures. Again, it's essentially just a vacant lot now, so it kind of looks like a field. So, but we do have 2 here, and this is kind of the driveway area and kind of looking back at the property. The second shot is actually from pretty close to Rock Springs Road. But again, there's not a lot to see there now. It's just a vacant lot at this time. So.
Okay, thank you, sir.
That's what I got.
This time, we'll close the Board of Zoning Appeals and open a public hearing for anyone who would like to speak for or against this request. Please state your name and your address.
Hi, Darcy Alexander, 5830 Rock Springs Road. We will not have signage for the business. This is just a backup plan, and there's going to be 3 buildings that all match. So this business is going to match the home that I'm doing the blueprints on, and there'll be another detached shop garage behind the home. So we were going to put it at least 100 feet, if not further away, probably 200 feet off the road front. So there shouldn't be any glare, plenty of room for parking. My husband's very meticulous. He's Air Force, so he wants netted screen walls that come down if he's spraying outside. Otherwise, he's going to do it inside the building. But it's just our backup plan because this is a mobile business. So the point is to go to the customer, and everything's encapsulated in water molecules. It's water vapor blasting. So there's truly very minimal debris, and it's eco-friendly, so it competes with all the OSHA regulations for silica.
Yeah. Didn't want to have to know that, did you?
Well, it's helping us actually,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's a great thing.
So I think that was probably one of my questions was if you do the blasting I guess that's what's called blasting on site, that it would be mostly done inside.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And if not, it would be like a covered area with walls that would come down, screen walls. Mostly probably for bugs, just to be honest with you.
Understand. And does this use kind of like a pressure washer device or
It's
more like a
exactly right.
compressor device?
It's all that.
Okay.
And it's a generator, and it's got a compressor, and it's recycled glass and water vapor.
Okay. So Kevin, the question I would have is around the noise associated with that equipment in a residential area. I mean, as long as it's during the appropriate hours, it shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, obviously, if they do it at night or or something like that. And if any of their neighbors have concerns, I'm sure they'll call us, but
Yeah.
I don't, based on, I mean, I didn't think it was a noise was too big of an issue.
Okay.
But.
So,
just
yeah,
my
I guess
understanding.
the advice would be just be cognizant of that, right? So if there is issues, I'm sure they will call.
Yeah.
So I know some of your neighbors on that street, so I know they will call.
Well, and I'm a landscape designer as well and an interior designer, so it will be very well done. Very
Excellent.
tastefully
Okay.
done.
Any other questions or comments for?
Are there any chemicals used? besides
No,
oil?
that's the great thing. It's 100% green, recycled. I mean, it should be the new wave. So we've already helped Nashville on a couple pools downtown and some staircases, and OSHA's loving it.
Yeah.
You said most of your work's off-site.
Yes,
What's the
sir.
percentage off-site versus on-site?
It's a truck-mounted equipment. It's on a triaxle flatbed. So it's, right now, it's been, the commercial renters, like automotive restoration companies, their neighbors really don't like it because they're renting those spaces. So when those customers are the ones who are like, okay, well, let's bring the vehicle to the farm and do it there, because dust might land on the car next door, you know, and they're like, oh my goodness. And it's like, no, it's like no different than pollen from your tree. It's not like sand, but nonetheless, it's unappropriate for certain locations. So it's just nice to have another place that's available to ship the vehicles or the marine boats or something too. But I'm hitting the marinas up really hard too, so we can do anti-fouling right there in the water, anti-fouling removal. So
How much do you expect that you'll be doing those type of, that type of equipment? I mean, do you have an idea at this
how
point?
often would we do something out on our property? Probably 1 in every 10. Like right now, we hoping to land a staircase manufacturer in Hendersonville, and they're 100% going to be on site. All the pools and things we do are on site. We're hitting a commercial industrial market. I'm trying to get graffiti in Brentwood. We're really not hitting residential market at all, other than the automotive industry.
Understand.
So it would just be the automotive vendors in the highly populated areas like Franklin and downtown Nashville. They really would not be an ordinance for us to do on site in those type of projects.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments? No? All right, thank you. All right, this time we'll close the public hearing, reopen the Board of Zoning Appeals for discussion. Obviously, there's a lot about this that I don't know anything about. I think Ms. Alexander did a good job of explaining it. I don't really have as much concern about if they have their own building dedicated for the business. I don't really have concerns about that. And even if they're doing a little outside during the day, I don't think that's an issue. Getting those vehicles and boats to and from the property, you know, obviously they'll have to be, that portion of Rock Springs is pretty narrow, so they'll have to be concerned about that. I guess when they get ready to build their site, that'll come back, right?
Well, yeah, we'll look at that when they.
I'm assuming they may have to have like an oversized driveway or something to make turns with a trailer, that
If they're
kind
gonna
of
have a
thing.
trailer with a lot of, well, it sounds
Yeah.
like the equipment's on a trailer too, so I mean,
Right.
yeah, it'll have to be something that.
So, but you'll handle that as part of planning or part of their plan, site
Right,
plan?
when they bring in, to get the actual permits and all.
Yep,
we'll
okay.
take a look at that.
That's what I assumed. I just wanted to make sure. All right, anything else? Anybody? If not, we'll entertain a motion. Check you up
I'll
against
I'll just make it a trifecta. I'll make a motion to,
Hat trick. Hockey.
let's hope so. I'll make a motion to approve this request.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
None opposed, so the motion carries. The motion's granted. Next item on the agenda is staff comments and or other. Anything, Kevin?
I don't have anything.
Jeff, you got anything? You've been quiet tonight.
Yes, we'll probably be having training soon, as I told you, for the new folks and refresher for the old.
Understand.
Just putting together the PowerPoints for all the boards and try to get it right one time so we're not spending
Yeah.
additional time with every board every night.
Right. Well, when some of them are short like this one, we can do
That's
it maybe
right.
at the end or something. Excellent. All right, thank you. With that, the motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion and a second. We're adjourned. I seconded
We
it.
got a second. I
Yeah,
guess.
we're adjourned. Thank you.